Hello, this is Brian Whitten and ET Art. I wanted to come back and make a video before I get started. If you're 12 or younger, if you could go and get your parents to watch this video or carer, and if they say it's okay, well then that's fine. I haven't made a video, so I do apologise to all my subscribers on YouTube. For quite some time I haven't put anything up, but you know, you get to a point of realising that your job or task is done, or you have an opinion of that, and that's probably why that happens. I didn't come here to make money on this YouTube channel. It was something that was of extreme importance, so which is why all my videos exist. And I wanted to start with this video today. I'll press play here. I've got the sound down. I wanted to come back here because if you've watched my videos up until this point, we are of the understanding that the Earth's tilt of its axis is not something that stays there forever. When it comes back and swings back to being standing up straight, it is an extremely fast process. It's all over in 34 minutes, and every living soul on the planet would be dead within the first 3 minutes, and it would bring total devastation across the entire globe. Our ancestors and the people that leave all the pyramids and megaliths on our planet from one end to the other come back. They make that happen in a far longer period than the 34 minutes that's spelt out to us in megaliths and pyramids, the Serapeum and things like this that I've gone through before. I don't want to go through that again today because we will just move on like you've already watched those videos. There are many on my channel. They are mistake ridden because it's not something I came here with the intention to do. It's not something that I initially started thinking, I'm going to go and solve the pyramids. That is not what happened here, and I am a person that if I intend to do something, I do plan and have a strategy of motion to achieve the objective. I've always been like that. I've built extensions, designed them, and built a 2-bedroom unit and stuff like that. You know, it's something that I put my mind to. I have a plan, and I will then achieve that objective. That's what I do. I didn't come here and moved up here to this house, and I live in the northern New South Wales area, Northern Rivers district of New South Wales. I didn't come here and think, oh, I'm going to come up here and solve the pyramids. You know, what happened, my son found this rock, I'll insert it again here. I uploaded that onto a couple of geological sites to get some sort of interest or feedback into what it actually meant, only to work out in the end that I worked out myself what it meant, and that kicked me off into the whole story. I then went to the pyramids. I won't go through explaining why and how I have read that rock. I have shown you it many times before in my other videos. I wanted to kick this off, and I'll let this play. Gina is the lady that put this video up, although it's not in her queue. I'll show you very shortly and do a screen imprint here for you of the screen and the name of the lady that uploads this. I'm just going to let this play, right, because what this is supposed to be, and I know you've got in glare on the screen, that's actually not my TV, this is her recording off her TV and so on. This was supposed to be a city that was in space. I don't know if this is real. It could be a photograph of a earthly bound city over an image of the space behind it, so it could be false. I'm not going to say that she would have done this deliberately. She was sent these videos that somebody captured this off the ISS. I wanted to start with that today purely and simply because I have said I've got a rock with an image, and I'll show you that very shortly. But this is what she says, and whether this is like on Earth and they've got that image superimposed on this space image, because you can see in the background stars drifting past this way as the ISS moves around. So whether or not this is really in space, I do not know. It may very well be in space, I do not know. And you could say, well, how come we don't see it? Well, who's to know? It could be over an ocean, which in case you're not going to see it unless you're in a boat going across directly underneath it, and they would have obviously the skills to hide anything, because we've seen UFOs here on Earth that have been seen that just disappear. So who knows? I don't know. I just wanted to start with that today, and I will do an insert now of the screen freeze of the video so you'll be able to find it on YouTube. Although, having said that, I've done a search for this video and I couldn't find it. But I'm sure Jenny wouldn't mind me showing you this, because her work is really quite unusual. She's got photographs of things near the sun, and she has done a lot of work. I slowed that down and stopped that at some instances there. I might just do it here to see if I can give you the same sort of effect. When I slow that down, it appears to me, like I said, it could also be a city just as on Earth, and superimposed on the space vision behind it. It's possible. But it's also possible it's real, so I don't know. It's supposed to be, it's made out that it was captured off the ISS. I don't know if that's the case or not. I did want to show you that at the start, because I'll show you a few other things now. Now I've just brought up that picture that I wanted to show you that, in my opinion, seemed to show me exactly that. This is not a video, it's a still frame off a video that I captured out from my microscope usage whilst you shine the light and move it around the outside of the rock. My opinion, we were seeing the South American continent here. When you moved the light around, you saw these trails that come off here like this, and they had little like UFOs flying out at the top of it, implying that there was a space station or something here that was going to be built above South America, that this would happen on the 17th, which is why we see a 17 here. I'll show you an inserted image now. You can see it's the very same place on the rock. It does not have 17 there, it has 4 in Roman numerals. I've showed you that before as well. Like I said, I want to go over a whole lot, but I just wanted to show you that the 17 here, I have understood what that meant in respect the problem. Well, if I show you the inserted image here of the event in Tunguska, this flattened trees for 20-30 miles in a radius of 20-30 miles. It just wiped everything out. That happened in 1908 on June 30th. The 1st of the 7th is the day after. And last year, that's why I thought this was going to happen like over the last 18 months, was because I thought the 1st of the 7th was referring to last year. It wasn't. It was the 1st of the 7th, last year, 17 months, and 17 days later, which was the 17th of November, was when this was going to happen. They would come out and build this, and this thing here was dropping, there's things dropping down from this thing, and there's a crisscross here, and a flat line there, and what I took that to mean was the fact that they're going to drop Atlantis across the ocean. In other words, they have to stop the tsunamis happening when the land masses are lifted up. I've also gone into that before in my other videos, that the land masses themselves have tunnels underneath them, and the water, if it's in there, is void of the ocean pressure. It's the depth of the ocean itself that when it's cut into those, when they cut the continents, the ocean pressure of the ocean depth is what lifts the continents, and they can be moved away from the equator, which is what they have to do. I wanted to show you that just purely to simply let you know that the 17th, so many of their things have more than one meaning. 3 seems to be the situation. Everything you look at, not because you were wrong, in some instances I have been, but in some instances, yes, you weren't wrong, but you weren't right. You know what I mean? You've got to, there's 3 options. In this instance, the 1st of the 7th last year was the 111 years and 1 day, 4 ones, and that situation was that 17 months and 17 days later was in actual fact 17th of November this year, and that's when this was happening. So that's why I said I wanted to show you that first video. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't, have access to. I probably could go on live feed and see if it's still there. I certainly would expect it to be cut if it wasn't cut straight away. It may be there. I don't know. All I wanted to know is, or to let you know that that situation there, like I said, I'll do that inserted image again. You can quite obviously see that there, right here, where we're having 17 written now, it had 4 in Roman numerals, and I've gone through this rock before. I put a video up called Programmable Rock. I've had people laugh at me. I really don't care. I don't come here to, like I said, I didn't plan to do all this. I just realised its importance. But I do want to move on. I just wanted to show you that that's the case there, and that the 17 is in actual fact that from the 1st to the 7th last year, 17 months and 17 days later, was the day that was going to happen, and that is what's probably likely happening as we talk. I have got that. I might insert that just so you can see it a little bit clearer, a date. So in other words, if I put the 17th of November over here, and in this case I've added 21 days, and I get to the 8th of December, okay? The reason I wanted to show you that is the following picture. And this was a crop circle that I've put up on my Facebook account, which is what we're looking at here. And in this one here, I believe we're seeing a date set for us. And that's why I said 21, because if I count from here, the smallest ball to the biggest one, this crop circle seems to tend to me to be setting a date for us. If I count from in towards the centre here to the out where it gets bigger, there's 21 days. If I add 21 days to the 17th of November, which is what I've just said appeared to be what's on that rock, it's now saying whatever happens in here, to me seems to be saying it's happening then, right? So when this comes out here and it's at its closest, is when it happens. So what I'm saying here is, what I think we're actually seeing here is the transit and the movement and setting a date. And that's why I'm saying to you, if you add 21, there's 21 of these balls around here to get to the smallest one, from in here to the biggest one, there's 21 balls, 21 days. Add 21 to the 17, and what do I get? The 8th of December. I'm absolutely certain that's what that's setting for us. So the 8th of December is when this event occurs here. And this event here, I'm seeing this, the Earth getting protected, the days or period of time where the Earth itself has to be shielded from this Nibiru's past, that it's that quick. And the other 8 may very well tell us how many seconds it takes for Nibiru to go in and out of our solar system and gone. Because I've also said to you, if you've watched Jupiter and Jupiter's Departure Part 1 and 2, I won't go through all that again, that it is saying that we lose Jupiter. It goes with this process. It gets taken away, and it must make such a horrendous bang through our solar system that Nibiru, and the event that I've just showed you, I'll show it to you again, that this is that Tunguska event is not a localized event, it's a worldwide event. It would hit the entire globe and smash just about everything. That is why I believe we're getting told here, well, we're getting shown here, we've got like a period of 4 days where we get shielding from that process. It might only take 8 seconds, but they've got to get it into, you know, it might be 4 seconds. I don't know. Like I said, it's not something I've done at school. You don't go to a course and get taught how to push Earth out beyond Mars every 40,000 years, how to divert stars, how to build mass within an inner and outer solar system. It's just not stuff that I've learned at school. So I'm doing the best I can with what I've got here. So what I'm saying is that I would expect this is the 8th. And if I count 21 days for the 17th of the 17th month, from the 1st to the 7th last year, which was 111 years in 1 day from Tunguska, that's the day I get. It's December the 8th where that event happens. Now, I'll show you one other thing. I will mention this because I have seen this sent to me, another huge anomaly appears over Mexico's radar. that's a radar image of Mexico. I don't know if it's true or not. Somebody told me it's a test pattern, but honestly, you get so much left, right and centre doing what I'm doing. I just go generally with the flow. I just thought I'd let you know that that's actually was in a video I watched. You can go and look that up online on YouTube if you wish. I'll move on. Now I wanted to come back to just the view of the Earth using Google Earth here to explain to you a few things that we need to be aware of and what's going to happen and why. When I say these things, I'm not going to go proving it every time I put a video up stating things. I will tell you that in the cycle series that I put up on ET Arts by B. Witten is the explanations as to how the cycle works and why it is the way it is and so on. You can go back and consult those videos for a more detailed explanation as to what I'm saying. Safe to say that we move on from what I explained in those videos. We are saying that 6,000 years ago the Earth was standing straight on its axis and going around the Sun in a clockwise direction, not anti-clockwise as we perceive it is now. It is not standing straight because the plane of rotation of Earth has been lifting up towards the horizontal plane. I won't go into that anymore, but what I wanted to come back here for was to let you know that when the Earth was going that way around the Sun, standing straight, with the management of the people that left the pyramids and all such things on our planet for us to understand why this happens, it was doing a 27-hour day. We're doing a 24-hour day now. So when this cycle that we're just about to finish started 6,000 years ago, they took a massive amount of mass to fly through space and hit our planet to achieve the objective of knocking it sideways, skewing the plane of rotation, or the magnetic plane of Earth I should say, skewing the plane away from the Sun so that it was allowed to be pushed away from the horizontal plane where it was locked in. That's why we see keys and locks and stuff within the Egyptian mythology. I just wanted to show you and go through the events. The first event was this one here. This is huge. The bottom of South America. That's why the Saxon-Human walls are up here. There's 3 walls because it tracks 3 comets. You're saying, oh well, that's one impact that started the process. In Central America, which is why we've got South America on that rock image that I just showed you before. This is the second impact. This stopped the movement of the Earth tilting this way. This impact here. 9/11 is just there. I won't get into that either. We've mentioned that in other videos. From that point, the one in South America, or the one in Central America, I should say, has come across here and landed here with 2 comets. One just down here, going that way, and the other one coming in this way. That's why the pyramids are at the end of the, exactly why the pyramids are at the end of the Mediterranean, because that in actual fact is the impacts that drove the Earth out away from the horizontal plane. The impacts after the one from the south, I'll show you this southern impact here, where they went, they created, now I won't go into it yet, but there actually five were cut from this one. One of them was added to this one here to create the Mediterranean. The other 4 went across here to separate the Australian landmass, and they all landed here, in this area here, and they separated the Australian landmass, and all through here there's about 4 of them. I'll do an insert now of a rock I found. It's the very same rock that has the 17 and the space station above South America on it, and you can see that you have 4 marks above Australia. It may be difficult for you to see, but that's what I realised that meant, and in actual fact with those impacts here. Some of them are still visible lying on the bottom of the ocean floor where they've come to a halt. So this is where those 4 landed, and they separated all this landmass here from here. They stopped the process, they sped the planet up. I'm showing you those though. They're hitting in this direction, in the way the Earth is spinning. That is why I wanted you to be aware of what's happening here. Look at what's happening to get 3 hours extra time here. Imagine you're trying to do that and get us 3 hours extra time because we have to be at a 21-hour day when the Earth hits the horizontal plane of the Sun. Otherwise we're going to have the same thing happen. It'll spin real quickly and we don't want that to happen. As soon as that happens, it's all over Red Rover anyway. So what I wanted to do is explain to you the movements of Earth. And that's what I'm saying. The 3 hours, that's only going 3 hours of rotational speed. The movements we are shown, both by the Serapeum, the pyramids, and many other megaliths, to be honest, tell us that we get a high-speed rotation like this. It would take us to a 16-hour day. We've got to get to 21 before we get there. So that's what I'm saying. Before the 24th of the 12th, I'll go back to an Egyptian parchment very shortly and let you know where I'm getting that date from. When we look at this and see that, well, that's not the only thing. We've got the tilt of the axis this way. We've got the rotational speed that way. We've got the movement through space this way. And we've got the upward thrust that's also shown us, which is the full width of the globe, 8,000 miles straight upwards. And in 4 minutes, it takes about, the megalith is telling us that it's taking half of the globe in 30 minutes and the last half in 4 minutes. So we're reaching speeds of 120,000 miles an hour straight upwards. It's a deadly process, and that one, the last movement, if it's thrust into the horizontal plane and stops, it actually showing us that it cracks the planet entirely in half. Like I said, I don't expect this is going to happen because there would be no reason, nor rhyme, nor reason for me to have come to these realizations and understandings and making these videos, or the messages on the rocks or the pyramids or anything else that wouldn't be here if in actual fact that was going to happen. So understand that they start this process to filter out corruptions in the human genome. In our instance here, and I have said in a video that seems to be the Northern Europeans that get affected to the concept of understanding, very, very, very basic understanding of survival of a race, survival of a species. You do not make a survival of a species happen by chopping up and eating little babies. You know, that is the most absurd thing, but it goes on our planet. In our instance, I've said it was the white races from Northern European and the English and so on. But there are cycles of Earth where it's shown on some other things. I won't go into it. Very fine people of the subcontinent, if the Earth is standing straight and going that way, seem to suffer the same problem. It's a mental, it's a corruption of genome. It's the very reason why the cycles are managed. You could say that it was always like that, and that when we go in and out of varying magnetic fields because of that, it may be. It may be just making sure that nobody leaves the solar system with human ancestry that does this, so that it doesn't get away from the planet, this behaviour. That could be the case. I don't think so. I have a feeling it's something, whether we went away and the problem was there and then other people came and taught us how to do things, I don't know. There's things we're going to learn. But I just wanted to show you that and understand that what was done just for 3 hours extra space. That's why we have to go through all of the things that I will now explain, is that we're going to move landmass away from the equator. And this is the other reason why I realised a lot of the landmass already had been moved, but there's still quite a bit more that has to be moved. South America. I will show you shortly a few things, but South America here, the greater part of the west coast, South America will be moved out. Where to? It'll go out to Easter Island, that's why it's there. North America. If you look closely here, there's lines marked here as to tell you how far it's going to move. It's mostly going to be the west coast of North America is going to go that way. The rest of the North American continent here is going to be cut in the direction of the arrows. You may have seen on social media this inserted pillar said to be an artist's work. I'll tell you now that it was actually located right where that lake points, that way. So, and I've said before that I see these lakes pointing in a direction that the continents are going to be cut in respect to North America anyway. When I look back at the African continent, you ever noticed how much the African continent looks a bit like a human skull, looking this way with his eye being, you know, like Victoria? I found that very image on a rock. I found the very image of Africa on a headland in the National Park in New South Wales here. It has that on the side of a cliff. I'll insert it here for you, and it still has Madagascar still attached to the mainland, telling us that that was a upwards comet. What I will tell you is this: the Earth, when it is moved away for a 6,000 year cycle like ours, where it's in between the 16,000 years it goes clockwise and the 16,000 years it goes anti-clockwise around the sun, the Earth and the way it is moved, it is shifted downwards. So in other words, the plane of rotation of Earth moves away in a downward direction. That's when the Earth is standing upwards on its axis with a tilt. When it is laid flat on its axis, like so, it is always moved on the plane of rotation from the point of the planet upwards. That's why we see the bags we see in, well, those little held bags that are running around, wondering what they're for. In actual fact, saying that's the case. They're also saying that the 4,000 years for that plane shifts 180 degrees. That's why we see the handle at the top of the bag. I wanted to show you that because in Africa it's said to split across the equator here. Most of North Africa is going to push up into where the Mediterranean is, and the bottom half of South Africa will move down towards Madagascar. I say South Africa, I should say the southern half of Africa will in actual fact move down. I also wanted to show you this as well before I moved on with Australia, is that we're getting images like this on rocks, and you could say it's not anything to do with Ayers Rock or Uluru. It is, in actual fact, exactly that. It's the same rock once again that I showed you this inserted image that I've already shown you with the 4 impacts recorded above Australia. If we look to the bottom left hand side, we also see another impact in the middle of Western Australia, if in actual fact that's the case. And yet this inserted image, it is that rock that had me find this very impact, which is right in the middle of Western Australia, right where the rock said it was. I didn't know about it until I understood the message that was written on that rock. I then loaded Google Earth and found that impact as I show you here, just like that. It was perfectly, and that's where I got the information from, that it was there. It wasn't through prior knowledge of that impact being in the middle of Western Australia. So to take back here at this image again, and we see that it's made to look like Uluru because that's exactly what they intended to do. And here we're seeing an arch on both sides of a dot here. It's a drawn symbol. It's actually written. Some elders will have that written on, Aboriginal elders will have that painted on their chest for their ceremonies. Not the only thing I wanted to show you, because I have found a few other rocks that certainly show me what's going to happen to Australia. Now I wanted to show you a couple of rocks. The ones I've just shown you were off a rock called the Tintam rock. I've got these photos on here I wanted to show you, but I will show you the rock first. So this rock is actually this big, and I picked it up and I immediately recognised what I thought was the shape of Australia, or at least half of Australia, knowing already and having knowledge of the cuts that were going to occur in our country. Which is why I wanted to put this video up. Like I said, your subscribers have been on my channel for a long time, and you deserve to have this not just left on Facebook but here for you as well. And I saw Tasmania here, it's like we see here, the Great Australian Bight going up and around here, the east coast, when this cuts off here. This has all been cut off here. This is the mountainous portion here. And you could say, that is ridiculous, brain. That's fine, I don't mind, you can say as you wish. I'm just going to zoom in on this rock here. And when we come up here, you can see that off the edge of this rock here, there's these two, what appears to be river systems. Both of them come in like this and then split into two. If I go to the top end here, right where the Gulf is, by the way, the Gulf here, did you know that from here to here, that red line there, that's 666 kilometres. There's no doubt who they come for, that's without doubt. I go back here, up to the Gulf, and that's exactly what we've got. A river that comes in and one splits that way, and this one comes in there and splits that way. So they're saying the continent of Australia is going to split from that point there down to the bottom, and the bottom will be right where this wall ends. If you come down to the Gulf itself, or I should say, not the Gulf of Carpentaria, but the Great Australian Bight here, this is all very, very straight off here. It just goes straight down into the ocean. The first place, the very first place where that ocean is not straight off the edge is right here. So I would expect this is marking us where it's actually going to cut. It's going to cut from here up to that top river system, just as we've seen on that rock. And you can laugh and scoff all you wish, but I can assure you that what we've had left here on these river rocks is beyond imagination, and it is. If you've watched my videos to this point, it will go from here upwards to here. And like I said, that rock has got the two river systems. I'll go back and go closer look at that rock now. And that is what I believe we're seeing here. We also see here another river system come from here and go all the way up to the edge here. If you were in Australia and you know what river that is, it's the Darling River. I'll go back here again to Google Earth. And that Darling River system goes all the way up here to across the border, the Queensland and New South Wales border. That's what it's telling us. It's telling us how far the cuts are going to come down on this Brisbane west coast. And I'd say to you, what happens if I show you another rock now that shows you the same thing? Before I move on to another rock, I will show you the other side of that very same rock that I've just shown you, the other side of it. Now I've turned that rock over and looking at the other side of it now. And I'll zoom in so you can see this really quite clearly here. That on this portion of the rock here, where it's already said on the other side that it's going to go up beyond the reaches of the Darling River. When you come up to the east coast of Australia and cross the border and go into Queensland, if you're on the old highway, or the inland highway, not the coastal highway, you go across and you go around a mountain called Mount Lindsay. Here's an inserted picture of Mount Lindsay here. That is exactly what we see here. That is Mount Lindsay. Image of it left on that rock for us to see where they're going to cut. And you can see these cuts here, right down the east coast of Australia, the east coast of Queensland. There's two lateral cuts across here. I'll show you this rock and what it looks like from the side view, so you can see how accurately these are cut. Look at that there. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see it a little bit better. Look at how accurately these are cut. It's like an unbelievable rock. Look at that edge there. How smoothly cut it is. Even though it's rough to look at, when you run your hands across them, they're really quite smooth. It's really quite an amazing thing. So I would be without doubt, that's where they're telling us they're going to cut the landmass of Australia. I wanted to bring your attention to those two lateral cuts across New South Wales, because I've got another rock that says exactly the same thing. I'll show you that shortly, but I just wanted to show you that once again we're being told on this side of the rock with a visual image where they're going to cut up here to Mount Lindsay. So I would expect, I've had people ask me, Brian, where is it going to come in on the east coast? I'll be honest with you, I think the Tweed River. The Tweed River comes in very, very quickly and it goes to mountainous areas. I believe they'll do whatever they have to do, causing as less destruction as possible. otherwise there would, like I said, there wouldn't be all this here for me to be able to work it out and tell you what's going down. So, you know, I mean, that's why I look at it that way. If they were just going to come down here and willfully kill people without any concern for life, I believe the people on our planet that do that are already here and in leadership roles, I can assure you. This is the other rock I wanted to show you. Once again, the clean edges are cutting on this rock is the very same. And yet what do we have again across what I believe we are seeing New South Wales here? We're seeing the edges cut off already. We've got two lateral lines going across here. We're seeing the line in the bottom is here. This is going up to the top and saying, okay, well, this is another portion here. Where are we going? We're coming up here and we're cutting right in where I told you, at the bottom of the Great Australian Bight, where the wall, where the real high cliff faces stop. There's a beach. That's where we're starting. And that cut goes that way. So that's what I'm saying. And over here, where's it cut going to be? It's going to be where Wave Rock is. In, I think it's Esperance area, bottom of Western Australia. And I believe that cut is also going up to the Daly River area. I'll do a couple of inserts here of some images that my sister found these rocks when she was up there on holidays in the upper Northern Territory. And the Daly River, or Western Australia, I believe it is, that's where they are. They're, in actual fact, these rocks here, they look like, to me, to be like this rock here, looks like they're a structured wall. It was only visible because a fire had gone through the area. So they'll cut up the west coast there of Western Australia from Esperance through the Wave Rock area all the way to the top end through, I would expect it's going to be the Daly River area, and from here to the other side of the Gulf of Carpentaria, to the right side of Carpentaria, from the very little beach, first bit of sand you see along there, which is ironically that it's marked in yellow there, just like the little beach I showed you. And once again, we see the two lateral lines and cuts on the very same as the other rock I just showed you, that there's going to be two lateral cuts go across New South Wales. I'll show you where I believe they're going to be. I just wanted to show you as I go along here these other, you know, the other rocks that I've got there, or that other rock, and how it's cut, how smooth the edges of this are cut. So I'm absolutely certain. And to have found this, I was really, really happy to have found that rock. Like I said, that's the other side that shows us the Darling River system up here, and it makes a point of coming up here, you know, where the Darling River goes. So I would absolutely certain that's the case. That's what we're seeing in that instance. Also see, if you actually use your imagination, there is a bit of a profile of a person built into that as well. You'll find that on the side of many things. These are the other two rocks that I've found over the years, or this is the one Wilson found, but once again, if we're looking at the Gulf or the Cape, if we're looking at Cape York, we're looking at the same thing. We're looking at lateral cuts down this way here. And this has 3 dots on it. I'm not saying that's the only thing it means, because I know what that means. They seem to be meaning a different thing if you hold them another way. It's the same as this one here. It's the one that actually led me to the pyramid. This rock on the right side here. It's rock that Wilson found. Some of the stuff that you see on these rocks, when you put them under microscopic, you know, view and then use an external light source, it's just mind-blowing. I'm not kidding. The technology is absolutely unbelievable. And I'm a computer engineer by trade, and I did my basis came through an audio-visual microfiche type, you know, that sort of hardware that I was repairing. Photography and all these things were the things I was into many years ago, 40 years ago. I'm now 62, and I didn't expect to be doing this sort of thing. And I sort of come up here to renovate this house and retire, and found it rather quite an amazing thing. When I've showed you this rock before of New South Wales, I'll bring that one back up again, because I've also written some things on the side here that I believe we're seeing. You know, the Great Australian Bight here and the cuts that we've just shown you there. And then this side, then we're talking about the New South Wales, and that I believe that the Bateman's Bay and Nadji Lake areas are where these cuts are going to come in at. Bateman's Bay, I say that because if you go and look at off the coast of Bateman's Bay, I'll do an insert of a little island there. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but it does have water flowing in, going one way if it comes from the south, and if it comes from the north, it goes in another way and swirls the other way. And because it actually is changing the direction of the water cycling, I think that that's in actual fact telling us where they're going to come in there. So it'll be Bateman's Bay up to somewhere inland in New South Wales, and vice versa here. Whether they cut all the way over to the other break would be most likely the case. I wanted to show you the other side of this rock. This is the same one that's got New South Wales, the view of New South Wales. That rock was only this big. That's its how big it is as compared to the other one that had the lateral cuts in the side. And I'll just hold that up there so you can possibly see as I move it around how the edges are cut so accurately on that. This one, however, when you turn it on the other side, actually gives you another place altogether. I had a friend contact me and communicate with me and said, Brian, I found a rock exactly the same as the shape you've got. He said, I picked it up, I found it 3 days ago, and I picked it up because it looked like the coastline where I lived. And he sent a photo of me, and I sent him back this one. I said, yeah, well, you're probably right, because that's in actual fact what this is actually showing us here is an area, but it's nothing to do with New South Wales. This in actual fact has got to do with a place over called Santa Barbara on the west coast of America. And that is exactly what we're being shown there, and where the cut is going to come in this instance, on the other side of the globe. So it's going to come in out of the ocean at Santa Barbara and go through Los Alamos, I would expect, and that's why that's going to happen that way. I'm going to move in very, very quickly here to a point on this rock. You can see, like I said, mountains in the background here. If I rotate that the other direction, I will just move that image around in a minute, but I just wanted to show you this point here. It's like there's something. So I've gone on the map and looked at that, and there's in actual fact the very same instance here. When I go back out again in Google Earth, you can see this sort of bay here like this, and that's exactly what it looks like off the coast of Los Alamos and Santa Barbara. It's got a big bay like this around here, and then there's two very, very straight edges on the coastline over there. Just it looks exactly the same shape as the coastline. And there's mountains up here in the background, like so. And what you're seeing there is a representation of what's going to happen to the west coast of North America. Before I move on, I'll just go back to the west coast of North America and show you that there was an array of holes in the seabed off the coast of North America here, and it's a very unusual thing. Just in here, it's all crisscrossed and got holes all over the place here. I'll just zoom back out, and I want to show you something about the west coast of America. And what I want you to be aware of is what we're seeing here. So those holes are right here. Okay, I want you to watch or be aware of this pointy thing we got up here on this. And if we're looking at then the possibility of a nose or possibly a bit of a facial feature here, and that the holes are right here, just imagine that be what we look at. Because I found a rock with this on it, and I thought this was really quite spectacular. Once again, you can scoff all you wish, it's fine with me. I'm just going to show you something, and you can make your own mind up. But I've just shown you that here we have the same feature of this head. I'll try and just extend that a little bit rather than, so that we can see we've got this coast here, like an archway up here of the coast, down here to a little square bit here, and look at what we've got out here. You gotta laugh. Sometimes so honestly, some of the things I've seen on these rocks, and I just go, wow, you know, it's not until you actually go. I knew about these holes off the coaster out here. I just thought I'd put that up there, just if you're a North American person, or person living in North America and on the west coast here, that you would find that that is also an unusual thing, and it's even got an eye there, and a nose or a mouth or whatever. It looks like that's, you know, you could perceive that to be the case, but it'd be ironic that we have all these holes here, and the very holes on the seabed are right there. I just thought I'd put that on there for you to have a look at. I'll show you one other thing. I just wanted to bring you back to this point here where I said to you that I got that rock. This is my rock, obviously, but that I got the rock sent to me about from this area here, which was, like I said, near Los Alamos or Santa Barbara area, district. It's where I would expect they're telling us they're going to come in here. And if you look on this edge here, you've got these straight edges on this point here, which is where this is here. And we've got this point here coming around here, and a bay like this, which is this one here. And then we get this big bay like this underneath, which if I go back over here, I'll just show you that first. Also got the mountains in the background up here. I'll just, I know this will disappear as soon as I click on Google Earth, but I'll move that in there so you can see in the background. I don't live there, but there may be people over there that do, that recognise that could possibly be a mountain ridge, just like the one that I've said is on the one of Australia. This is the other side of the rock that I said is New South Wales. It could be a representation of the very same thing that I just showed you, Mount Lindsay. I'm not 100% certain, but it certainly did reflect the very same coastline here of this face. And if I then show you this bay here and these marks here, I'll now go back onto Google Earth and come around this side, and that's exactly what we see here. There's a big bay where this is all dug out underneath the ocean here. You know, so it's very, very unusual things in the ocean off the coast of North America. Huge, unbelievable things, and not just the holes here that are in the bottom of the ocean, but I wanted to show you that. And just before I go away from talking about North America any further, I did want to come back here and say that I showed you a couple of lines on the bottom of the ocean in off the coast of North America, and said one of them is 2,200 kilometres out and the other one is 1,900 if you measure them back to the west coast. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. We're seeing a count of 22 there and a count of 19, and that is how you work out how much of the west coast is going to be moved. And that's why these lines are here like this. I'll move in so you can see that what we're looking at here is in actual fact an image of the Gulf, and it's letting you know just how far this is going to move. If I move this in like this, that's why that image is like that. This is down to the Gulf and west bottom of North America, or at least the United States. And we've got an arrow here. I've said to you before that they're going up the Potomac, exactly where I said. They'll go up to the lakes, going that way. This is setting the distance of the west coast, how much of the west coast is going to be moved. This rock is in Japan, on the very same line of longitude as Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Uluru, the bombing of the HMAS Adelaide in Darwin Harbour, and the British nuclear tests at Maralinga. That's where this rock sits. It's very much associated, which is why all those events have taken place there. We have had people in charge of our world for a long, long, long time that are about to be checked out. Anyway, that's what that's there for. It's letting you know how many hundreds of kilometres of coastline are going to be moved, and like I said before, the 1,200 and 1,900 mile distance is written on the bottom of the ocean floor off the west coast of the United States in North America. That's how much is going to go that way, and like I said, this is a nice arrow there coming in there. It will go. I have seen and put it up on already images of New York Harbour or Long Island or whatever it's called being moved out of the way, and they'll lift that out of the way. And I've explained to you how the land masses afloat, how they do it. They dig underneath the continents thousands of feet down, and it's the pressure of the ocean that lifts continental mass. Is the very thing that is in the design of the pyramid. You must imagine it, turn it upside down. Show you one last thing. Yes, the theory of the pyramid is the missing bit at the top. If you put the pyramid upside down and in water, the bit missing at the top is equal to the weight of the entire pyramid. That is the lesson of the pyramid. That is why there is water under the ground of the pyramid, to let you know that when the pyramid, or when you're in water at a depth like that, the cubic meter down there is the natural factor. Cubic meter is the weight of the entire structure above it in the way out of a pyramid. And every cubic meter underneath the landmass follows the same principle. That is how they float landmass. Once they cut across the landmasses, they'll cut up the rivers and across the mountain ridges. That is how it's done. I wanted to come back here to finish off today, because what happens when we halve 8? We say, well, we get 4. Yes, that's if we halve it mathematically. If we halve that physically, we get 3. I believe the 3rd and the 4th of December, our land masses will begin to move. And there's one more thing I will show you. And one last thing I'll show you now is this image. It's a microscopic image of a rock, alright, and you can think you're a complete idiot, and you can think that as well. Listen, this is on the same rock that I've just showed you that has the very, very accurate cuts on one half of this rock. I'll try and turn that round and hope that you see how accurately that's cut on the sides. It's really quite an amazing thing. It's like it's been put through a saw. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. The flat edges on that. It's off this rock, right, that this image was obtained. This is a microscopic image. I believe what we're seeing here is a chunk of land afloat here, and if you look across here between whatever this is, and this is what I'm saying, I believe this speeding planet Nibiru is before Christmas. It's not something that's going to happen on the 24th. I'll insert the Egyptian parchment that I said to you that I would show you. The top of this is saying the date, the 24th of the 12th, 2020. 2020 we get because there are 20 men looking forward, 20 men looking backward. The 24th is on the right side, the 12 is on the left side. That is what I believe that Egyptian parchment tells us, but it is the date of the earth meeting the plane. It's nothing to do with Nibiru. I believe that we're seeing here, this looks like a speeding planet when you get this in the right light. There's balls here going really fast here. And whether it destroys Jupiter, I don't know. I don't think so. I actually think it takes it with it, that it's like, runs like an electric magnet sort of thing, how fast magnets operate. But I am seeing here that we're told here that, and the reason why I wanted to divide 8 into 4, you know, or 3, depending on which way you look at it, because here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 gaps, but we've also got 3 of those. So what I'm saying, between the 3rd and 4th, we're going to see the land masses, in my opinion, start to break at that time. So we're only days away from our land starting to move, and I hope we all get through that, as many of us as possible, and they protect those that certainly are worthwhile of protecting. And once again, like I said, I wouldn't be here doing any of this, and none of this message would be put here so finely for us to understand what's going down. So hang tight, hold on. The one thing I can be certain of is there'll be a lot less people on Earth, but it wouldn't be through all of us dying. I would expect a greater many of the, certainly the Northern European, Russian, I also see the North American Indian people. We all pretty much have to pack up and go, and I would expect the population of Earth will be about 3 billion people. One more thing I will say, We see in the Knights, the people that supposedly wore those whopping great big metal things into battle that we see in English mythology. It's a mythology, it's a myth. You couldn't walk around with them on, let alone fight a battle in one. They are telling us what it feels like for a white man or a Northern European person to walk on this planet once it stands straight in the opposing electromagnetic fields of the sun. That's what our problem is. We will want to go, I can assure you that. It'll be like the pain of 1,000 pounds on every bone you've got in your body. We will have to leave. I would expect that's the case. I'll finish off there today, but I certainly would believe that we are seeing both 3 and 4 expressed there, just as we would if we halved an 8, either mathematically or literally. And we will see this happen on the 8th of December. And then the Earth, Moon will get taken away once this happens. That will speed the Earth through space, start to begin to lift the Earth's axis up as we're moving the landmass away from the equator. All such things. I won't go into that too much today, but I think we've covered enough. Thank you very much. This is Brian Whitten and ET Art. I wish you all well. Bye-bye.